Hey, welcome back to the show. Or welcome back to the channel, or maybe the show, whichever. So I have a different episode today than usual. Clean up last episode's stuff. As you can tell by the backdrop that I choose to record my videos in, I don't have a large library of books to sit in front of. Our house is a little small, on the small side, and we just me and my wife put a lot of effort and time into, we call this the rock room, and I just kind of enjoy it, feel comfortable in here, and it's got the best, lead with your best, what you have the best of or whatever. I don't know, that kind of was clunky. It's sort of just like, we put a lot of time and effort into this room, and it's just, this is the most visually appealing place, I suppose, especially for doing something fun like books. And I like it down here, so I like spending time down here. But I don't know if I'll ever have a giant bookshelf to be in front of, so if you don't mind that I'm never sitting in front of books, that's cool. Thank you. If you do mind, I'm sorry. It may never happen. But so I made my wife laugh the other day because I said, we don't really have a big library or big bookshelves. We just have places where books kind of happen. We have like little tiny shelves or things in the office. And, we do have a bookshelf in the front room, but it's sort of like, I call it like the brag book area. It's kind of, you don't see it initially when you come in, but if you're in our front room, you can see it. And it's sort of like the books that are curated to make us look smarter, smarter than we are. It's the bougie books. But when we were working on this room a couple of years ago, there was a bookshelf down here, and it sort of had books that were previously read, some books that just kind of some unread books that just kind of got stuck on the shelf, and I didn't really know what to do with them, so I stuck them in a nightstand, my nightstand on my side of the bed. And I'm filming this here because I don't think we're ready enough for that part of our relationship for me to show you my bedroom. But I wanted to clean it out. I wanted to do something with these books. And I don't mind decorating in there. I don't know what I'm going to do, like decorating with some books. I don't know what I'm going to do. But I wanted to go through some of these books, and most of them are read. A few aren't read, but just kind of talk about some stuff that's in here and, rub my nose. They're dusty. I wonder if that's why I'm getting a little sneezy feeling. But yeah, just kind of go through them and pull out what's in here and kind of talk about them if there's anything to talk about. So without any sort of pre-planned, we got Philip Pullman, His Dark Materials. I believe my brother bought this for me years ago. I do want to eventually read it. I know HBO had a cool show about it, but it's got The Golden Compass, The Subtle Knife, and The Amber Spyglass. It's 3 books in here. It's a mega book. Eventually would like to read it. I think this might be good in the fantasy YA kind of section, in this magical library I'm working on, but I'm not really working on. But this is a book I've not read, but would like to read someday. So, and I don't mind that it's in this giant 3-book volume. That's pretty cool. I know what these ones are. So, The Hunger Games. So my wife liked this series, or we like the series. And I think you can see the dust coming off of them. We really like The Hunger Games, like the movies, like the books. She got me into the books, and I believe I read this I finished this right before the first movie left the theaters. So we went in to see it, and it was in the theater that was kind of, it almost looked like someone's house theater, where it's a little bit smaller, there's not as many seats, and you could tell the projector had run the film. It says it may have been still on film too. It may have been before they really converted to digital projectors. It may not have, but I may be just talking out of my rear. But Hunger Games is really fun, and I read it in this strange transition time of I was starting a new job, finishing up a job, starting a new job. So I read the other 2 books in the series because at the time it was just a trilogy, And so, yeah, so these are the other twos, the other two books, Catching Fire and Mockingjay. And I think these would be nice. I want to do something in the office. God, I thought I dusted these. I want to do something in the office where we put some of these kind of books that we both kind of share our enjoyment for. We actually just lent the prequel books out to a good friend who has not read them yet. So you get a read pile, you get a not read pile. And I don't think that's going to continue because there's a lot of books. Ooh, here's a good book. This book is called Queen Pin. It's by Megan Abbott. I was really into Hardboiled Crime. I still am, but I read it a ton back through like 06 through 08. Like that was all I was reading. I would read comics and Hardboiled Crime. And we had this great bookstore by our house. All it was is a giant building. It was in a strip mall. It was a huge building, a huge like lot. It just had folding tables with stacks and stacks of books. So I'd buy like a lot of hard case crime books, and I saw this book on it, and I read this, and it's really cool. It's a great story of a woman who kind of becomes an understudy to a gangster that's also a woman. It sounds really dumb how I'm describing it, but she's sort of like shadowing and apprenticing in a weird way this woman that's like the Queen Pin, and it shows kind of her turn from like a normal, just everyday person into this gangster. It's a really good book, and I've read a couple other books from Megan Abbott. I really like her writing, so it's Queen Pin. If you ever find it, it's a good crime noir. Another good kind of crime book is The Blonde by Duane Sprazinski. He's a writer and also a comic book writer, and this is like a fun, he writes very like pulpy, over the top action kind of noirs, if that makes sense. So think of like Smoking Aces, stuff like that, where it's just like cool gangster worlds. And this one's about the blonde who, I think the guy, should reread this book. I think the guy who's the main character gets injected with these nanobots, and they call them the Mary Kates. So yeah, this is around 08, so Mary Kate and Ashley Olsen. So I think they call them the Mary Kates and or the Olsens. I forget what it is. But, and then she's like kind of like the gangster person that kind of helps him. I sound very unknowledgeable about these books, but this is a fun book. I remember reading, this is one of those books I've been meaning to go back to. Clearly I'm forgetting a lot of it. But I also don't want to ruin it and maybe stumble across a spoiler because I'm trying to remember stuff I read almost 20 years ago. Ugh, that's hard to believe. Yeah, because I got this right after, I believe I read some of his comics. And so, yeah, this is published in 06. So, yeah, don't go at me too hard in the comments for not really knowing the synopsis. I read this 20 years ago. So, and my bones are aching as I say that. But a book from Duane that I was not read 20 years ago is Severance Package. Severance Package, another Duane Sprazinski book. This one is the one that definitely has the Smoking Aces vibe. It's about an office building and what seems to be a regular day at work, and kind of unfolds into this like spy government kind of, everyone's has a backstory kind of, kind of vibe. It's really good. I enjoyed it. Fast read. I actually had this one for a while. I sat on it for a while and then kind of revisited my love for Hardboiled Crime a year or two ago. So definitely would recommend both these books, crime writing or crime books. And then obviously I'm sure everyone's heard of Hunger Games. So The Gamer's Bucket List, the 50 video games to play before you die. This is Chris Waters' book. I've read through this a couple times. I don't think I've ever read it completely. I kind of pick it up and put it down. This is a great like pick up and put down book. It was fun. This is about 10 years old, so I wonder if his top 50 games has changed, but yeah, I still a gamer, don't game as much, but this is like a fun little coffee table book. I think it's a conversation starter book. So I'll put this in red, even though I know I didn't read it completely, but I read most of it. We'll do this as a twofer. So HBO had this show called Bored to Death, and I was a huge fan of it. It's by Jonathan Ames. So this goes back to when I was saying the early 2000s and me being obsessed with Hardboiled Crime. And the show is based on a short story called Bored to Death, and I really enjoyed it. You can see the connective tissue of where they came to make the story from. Story's a little bit different, a little bit darker than the actual television show, but I enjoyed both. A quick read. And then years later, I actually found the book, the short story of Bored to Death comes from. It's the Double Life is twice as good. This is short stories and essays by Jonathan Ames, and I never read it, but I always meant to. But really love Bored to Death. Love the show. Wish it would not have been canceled because it ended kind of on a cliffhanger. And your birthday book. Told you it was kind of a random shelf. I've had that probably since I was a kid. But I'm back. Moved all the red books because the stack would get really high. And I'm going to move, and I know that some of these are unread. So I got The Girl Who Would Be King by Kelly Thompson. I used to listen to her podcast a lot. I used to listen to a lot of podcasts. My life was a little different 10 years ago with my work schedule and everything, and used to devour podcasts. I have not read this. I feel bad. This is just going to be the not read pile. So I bought this book, but I actually kickstarted her other book called Story Killer, and I sadly have not read this. Let me see when these are published. Oh god, it still has the Kickstarter stuff inside. I am the worst. But hey, you know what? 2014. It's not too bad. But 2014. I wonder if she's still writing. I should look up and see what she's got going on, because that was 12 years ago. But yes, this book is so cool. It's such a great book. I should have read it after I'd kickstarted it. But 2014 was one of those strange times. It was around the time when I was reading the Hunger Games books. It was a big transition for me, starting a new job, and it was like a huge kind of shift in careers, than what I was previously working at. So yeah, it's no surprise that some books kind of fell through the cracks. So all right, I have a whole series in here. So Nordic Gods and Heroes. This is just a reference book. I got real into Norse mythology in my early 20s, and I was writing some short stories with some friends to turn into film projects. And that was a reference book. All right. Now, I've never seen anyone else with this version of this book, but Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone, the Scholastic. I don't know if this is technically mass market paperback version, but I believe it is. So a friend recommended the Harry Potter books back in, it was probably 2021, so over 20 years ago. It's another comment that makes my bones ache. And I saw this version at my local Meijer, and I did not want to buy, I wanted to hide the fact that I was too cool for Harry Potter. So I bought the Scholastic version. Over the years, I'm actually glad I have this version. I wish they would have made all, and maybe Scholastic has all the versions in these mass market paperback sizes. And I like that it's kind of, you can tell it's well read. I read this twice, but it doesn't match my set, and I don't really care because I'm like, whatever. And I'm not really going to buy another version of one just to go with my Harry Potter books. But this is an important series to me. I don't know if I really want to display these books, but I want to keep them in my collection somewhere. Maybe it'd be cool to do a video why these books mean a lot to me. But maybe what I'll do is each time I pull one out, I'll give you a little backstory into why I like those books. So another Megan Abbott book, Bury Me Deep. I enjoyed this book, but she wrote it in an early Raymond Chandler style, like an old style hard-boiled crime version. I'm an idiot today. It's kind of, the prose are written in a very old way. It's actually based on a real story, a real newspaper article, a real crime actually. And I enjoyed it. I kind of slugged through the prose a little bit. It's written differently, as I point to the book. It's no longer there. It's written a little bit differently than Queen Pin and some of our other stuff. So if you get Bury Me Deep after you read one of her other books, you'll notice that the prose are a little different. But I enjoyed it. I enjoyed this book. I'm glad I had it. I'm glad I picked it up and read it. It was the writing style had kind of changed a little bit. So it was a little jarring at times, and the flow kind of didn't match with how I read. So, but still a great book. All right. Well, why am I pulling out number 3? Yeah, whatever. So this was the last movie I saw of Harry Potter. I've never watched any of the movies beyond 3. Yeah, this is Scholastic too. So they must have went to trade paperback size. Those ones must be from the school. And I didn't buy it at the school because it would have been a weirdo at 20-something, 21, buying a kid's book at a school. But not a kid's book, but you know what I mean? Like a book, whatever, in school for kids. This is the last movie I saw in theaters. This is actually the reason why I read this book, is my friend Lisa, who told me I would like Harry Potter, said she was really excited for the movie and really liked the books, and was like, hey, read the books, come with me to see the third movie. So I went with her and her boyfriend Andy at the time. I say like at the time, like they're married, but so I went with them, and it was fun. I enjoyed it. This is the last movie though I saw of the Harry Potter series. So a little factoid about that. Chamber of Secrets. Enjoyed this book. This book, when you read them, when I remember reading these books, I was just like, this is Harry Potter 1 all over again. And then later, when you read the 6th book, this is to realize how important this book is, because this is where the Horcruxes are actually referenced, even though you don't know what they are. But yep, cool book. Not really a big fact about Harry Potter series. All right. This is not a book, but G-Fan, Godzilla fan magazine. So, heck yeah, big Godzilla fan. And I remember buying these at the comic store at the time. So I used to pick these up every once in a while. I love magazines, and I like Godzilla. So there was a G-Fan was in there in my table. All right. Number 4, Harry Potter. This is when the story takes a dark turn. I remember reading this so I read 1 through 3, I watched the third movie, and then didn't read any of I didn't continue for a long time, maybe a couple of years, I forget. And then, so I started rereading them when I was finishing up college and interning at a marketing agency. And I remember reading this in the winter of that. So I'd read a Harry Potter book, then I'd read like a crime book after. So I didn't want to read them all back to back and like burn the series out. So I'd read I was probably read The Blonde somewhere in between this or before this. I keep pointing over there. I moved all those books. But yeah, so I remember reading this during that time. The 5th book, you can see, is worn. I rubbed the coloring off. I read this, remember finishing up that internship when I was reading this book. And my now wife, but we were dating, we were boyfriend and girlfriend at the time. Ooh. She bought me this book, and because she knew I wanted to finish the series. And coming up, you'll see the funny story why. All right. Let's get to some unread stuff. My brother bought me this for Christmas years ago. So Space Wolf. It's not called Space Wolf. It's called Space Vulture by Gary K. Wolfe and Archbishop John J. Myers. So, but this is cool because it's got the old sci-fi logo from the sci-fi television station, which I like. It looks like they kind of had an imprint of books for a while. Oh, this is from Tor, but it's from the Sci-Fi Essentials. It's a Sci-Fi Essentials book. I've actually seen this in the wild, and I should read it. I don't know. It looks cool. So we'll add this to the unread pile. The Tales of Beedle the Bard. This was just from the Harry Potter world. I read it. If you like Harry Potter, you know what it is. You don't need to read it. It doesn't have anything to do with the story. It's just like a kid's book that takes place in the world. So this, my first hardcover, dust flies off of it. Bought this off my sister and her boyfriend at the time. Were doing a garage sale. Oh, the joys of the summer garage sale. And he had this for like $3. I bought it from him. And this book I feel like this book always made the second book more important. I like this book. This is a fun book. Remember reading this in the spring. Almost took me I think it took me just under a year to read all these books. But I was reading other books, and I was interning, and I was working. So I had a lot on my plate. I don't know how I did all that at the time. There was literally like a day that I would get up, go to my internship, go to school, come home, and go to my night job. And there was other days like during the week that was like very similar. Where it was like I'd go to my internship, then go to my day job. In a restaurant, it wasn't like a real day job, but go to the restaurant and then come back. This was from my father-in-law. This is one of his books. This is by Garfield Reeves Stevens. It's The Night Eyes, or Night Eyes. There's no the. It's a novel. And it looks cool. Looks like a space kind of trippy. It looks like a Star Destroyer is coming into the suburbs. I think I looked this up on Goodreads at one point. It's got some good reviews, so let me know. Will go into the unread pile. All right. Now I know this is a good book. 2 books left. Baltimore, or The Steadfast Tin Soldier and the Vampire. This book is great. It is written by Mike Mignola and Christopher Golden. Mike Mignola you'll know from Hellboy, and Christopher Golden, I don't know why I made him Golden. He wrote a vampire series. And I know I had one of the books. I think it was a vampire series. And I sold it at some point, and I feel bad because I would really love to have that. But this is a great book. It's a vampire story. It takes place in World War I. Baltimore. I don't know if his name is Baltimore. This is another one of those books I read like 20 years ago, so forgive me if I'm getting some details wrong. But I know he ends up slashing a bat on the battlefield. Like he gets injured and slashes it, and it's actually a vampire, and it starts this whole like long horror story of revenge and stuff like that. It's really cool. Final book, no surprise, is Harry Potter and the Deathly Hallows. Now, my last little piece of information is me and my wife were dating at the time. This book comes out, and I tell her, "Oh, I've read the Harry Potter books. I really want to read that." And like the sweetheart she is, she bought it for me. Little did she know, I had only read the first 3. So when I said the series, there should have been a hard asterisk after series. And so she bought this for me. And then I picked up the 4th one later that week. And then she looked at it, and she saw it, and then she was like, "How many books are there?" And I was like, "There's 7. This is the 7th book." And she's like, "Well, you only have 5. Yeah, I only had 5 books at the time." I was like, "Yeah, I haven't finished the series at all." So we kind of laughed about it. I go, "But thank you." But it inspired me to read the books. And why the series means a lot to me is she had a medical event that summer. She had a blood clot in her brain. It was in the vein, the sinus. I think it's called sinus venous thrombosis, or cystic venous thrombosis. It's in the venous vein in the back of your neck. So she didn't lose blood to the brain. Her brain suffocated because the blood couldn't leave her brain. And she's okay. It was just really scary. She did almost die, but she ended up getting the help she needed, and everything worked out. But in Michigan, in the state of Michigan, if you have it was technically an unexplained event, even though it was clearly explained, you lose your driving privileges for 6 months, or at least that was the rule at the time. So she lost her driving privileges for about 3 months. Her neurologist doctor ended up just being like, "This is stupid, you're fine," after a couple months. But we both were finishing college, and a couple days during the week I would drive her, and a couple days during the week her dad would drive her. and I started rereading the Harry Potter series because I really couldn't do much at her school. I didn't have a laptop and or anything, so I started reading, and she went to law school. So if you watch some of my previous videos talking about hiding book covers when I was in high school, so apparently I did that during college as well, and I would be reading the Harry Potter, Scholastic Harry Potter in law school waiting for my wife, and I'd always kind of like have the cover kind of turned away so people couldn't tell what I was reading. But which probably made it look worse. Probably made it, I should have just been like, yeah, I'm reading Harry Potter, who cares? But yeah, it was funny. I was also really young at the time, so I was in my early 20s, so, or mid 20, whatever. I was in my 20s, wasn't thinking, but yeah, that's the main reason why that book just means a lot. Just a lot of stuff happened at the time in that summer with everything with my wife, and just rereading it, driving her to law school. She went to U of D, so we're driving down to Detroit, and I would wait for her. And the building is really cool because it's where I would wait is actually an alleyway between two buildings, but they closed the building off and polished the cobblestone. So it's this really, really cool area. The U of D campus is really nice. And I just hang out and play in the library and read Harry Potter and wait for her. So, all right. Comments in the comments if you have read any of these books that I have not read. I'm actually happy to see that I read the majority of them. I should reread some of these because my breakdowns were really rambly and not very good. But Night Eyes, Space Vulture, Story Killer, The Girl Who Would Be King, The Double Life is twice as good, and then the 3 His Dark Materials books. So if you've read any of these and you really speak highly of them, let me know in the comments, and I will move that up in my inspiration to read. Welcome to the office. If you stayed to the very end of the video, I really appreciate it. This is where most of the books are kind of at. I said earlier in the video that we don't have a library or a big bookshelf. We just kind of have small places where books kind of happen. That's why I was taking stuff off the nightstand and creating a little space in the office. On the top shelf, there's a time-lapse video that should have been playing that showed me cleaning off that shelf, reorganizing the top. I found these really cool granite and wood blocks. There should be in the video. Maybe if I can find a still, I'll zoom in. I already completed it, so I don't want to grab one of them and have them fall over. But I enjoy it. Like I said, we don't really have a complete sort of library or like that anyway. We just have little places where books are at, and I think this really helps to clean up our bedroom area and get some books on display. I ended up putting majority of the books from the box up, other than Night Eye, Baltimore, the novella of Bored to Death, and the video game book, and then there's like 2 other, like a Nordic book and a birthday book. Those are just going to go somewhere else. Everything's just a work in progress. Nothing's really final, so maybe once I organize more, because I got a shelf over here that's more mass market paperback older books, and I got a shelf over here that's more trade paperback. Everything is disorganized, everything's a mess, but I think having more little spaces for books is really going to help. We have a couple books out for loan for some friends, so those will go back up there in our Hunger Games kind of section. But yeah, nothing is really complete, but I think this is a good opportunity to sort of take control of sort of where books have kind of gone and ended up, and maybe sort of funnel it into a more structured, library or something. But for right now, they're just going to be kind of haphazard, and but I'm also trying out this new setup too as well. I need a place that I can record pickups and do quick videos without lugging everything to the basement. I know the basement, like I said, is the cooler area of the house, but it's also not a practical filming area all the time too, when you got to bring a computer, a mixer, and all the camera equipment to the basement. So hopefully this looks good. It's a nice little experiment at the end of the video to see where everything's kind of at, but hopefully you'll enjoy the video. I think I said in the video, let me know any of those books that I have not read, if you've read those, and recommend them. Also, towards the end, maybe I'll take a quick picture. We put my wife's TBR and then my holiday books up like right in front of the shelf. So as soon as I was done with it, it's like you got buried again. But it's a start. Everything's a work in progress. It's a start. So maybe in a couple months, maybe a year or two, I'll have a better handle on how my books are organized. But yeah, until next time, bye.